actually, I said idiot boy. It's idiot, apparently, according to... This is made into a film, and I wouldn't mind seeing the film.
Ooh.
Two beautiful pink flamingos there on the cover. This one is quite short as well. I think it's like 350, 340 pages, something like that.
Short for you. Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's like amazing. It's really, really good. But I have one criticism, which is there were a few times where I was kind of like, okay, well, let's move on. You know, there's a few moments where it's slow. It's not like a page turner necessarily. So this is more of your, I hesitate to say like chick flick type thing, but it's that. So this girl, we open with a scene where a main character is telling us about an event from her... She's Sarah, by the way. An event from her childhood or her teenage years. She's in high school. She joins the theater group or whatever.
Ooh.
And there's a guy that she likes called Aaron, and he's a band, the Humildes. And he's like the hot guy, you know? So like everyone fancies the band, in particular him. They have lots of groupies, she says. And they probably wouldn't notice me. But then Aaron kind of notices her at a party, and then they go out to like a monastery or like a nunnery essentially, and they play a concert to the nuns, and the nuns are like to the girls in there, and the nuns get annoyed and like tell them to chase them away or whatever, and then they have like a pillow fight or something. It's all crazy, but this is like one of her cool like high school memories. Like I remember that time we ended up going out into school and playing in the nunnery and getting into trouble and almost getting arrested or whatever. She feels that she has like a bit of a connection with Aaron on that night. Then he moves away, she doesn't see him again. That's kind of like the prologue. Now, years later, what she did in the show was she worked with feathers. So her job is to like make costumes using bird feathers. And it's called a plumist, but I don't know if that word also exists in English.
Okay.
So she's running this little shop. She's living in her like dead granny's apartment that like the father still owns. They inherited or whatever. Her sister, Lou, is also there. Lou is very much like a new boyfriend every month type situation. Sarah really has one long-term boyfriend, Robert, but he's basically gone for a year to Paris to work, so they're kind of trying long distance for a year. Then the parents split up. So basically, I feel really bad for the dad, but the mum is just like openly having an affair. And then the dad's like, well, I gotta go live with my daughter now because I can't live with the mum. And she's like, threatening divorce and things. But no one gives the dad any sympathy. And he's like, I'm a good guy and like I treat you all well. He never seems to do anything bad throughout the book.
Takes care of his daughter. It's just...
Yeah. But the mum is cheating on him, and every time he complains, and he moans a lot about it, of course. His life is falling apart. And everyone... I feel like the whole family's kind of gaslighting him a little bit. Every time he moans about it, it's like, oh, he was dad again, like, quit your whining, always complaining. It's like, well, my wife is having an affair. And every time he mentions it, they're just like, oh, you gotta get over it. Like, it's like, his wife is having an affair, though. Like, and no one is like, maybe we should tell her not to, or we should ask even, was there a reason for this? Like, they're just kind of like, well, if you want her back, you gotta earn her back, I guess. But...
So he's in a really dark place.
I feel bad for the dad.
Aww,
so then he's like, well, time to have a midlife crisis. So I'm gonna like get my ear pierced and start taking drugs and like trying to be young and cool again.
Okay. So he dyes his hair black and uses all the eyeshadow and pierces his septum.
So she goes to live with the daughter. He goes to live with the daughter. And then Robert's coming to visit for a week from Paris. And she's like, right, we're going to have a really romantic weekend. Oh no, Dad's living with us. And then Lou's like, right, I need to stay with you for a week or two. She's like, damn it, what about my romantic week with my boyfriend? Now the house is full. And Lou's like, yeah. So I've been kicked out of home by mum and dad because I'm going to marry a guy they've never met. It's my latest boyfriend, and she's like 20 and he's 30. And they're like, yeah, you cannot marry a guy 10 years older than you. So... Then she meets the guy, and it's Aaron, the guy that she fancied in high school all those years ago. So now she's living in the apartment with her sister, the guy that she fancied in high school, and her dad, waiting for her boyfriend to come for their romantic week together. And of course she still has feelings for Aaron. And that's the main part of the story. Robert arrives and immediately is like, I see how you look at Aaron. You've never looked at me like that. Which is true. She massively, massively fancies Aaron, and she's trying to, not let on. Just they don't tell the sister that they knew each other. For example, they say like, "Oh yeah, I remember you from high school," but they don't say that like she had any feelings for him or anything.
But I'm guessing Aaron doesn't like her back or hasn't shown anything.
It's unclear at the beginning, but then later you realize that he does.
Oh, okay.
So now the embarrassing stuff starts happening. So she's doing like webcam sex with the boyfriend, and the dad walks in on her and stuff like that. And then she walks in on the boy she fancies having sex with her sister in the shower and all this kind of stuff. Then Robert finally arrives, and he's like, I brought this random guy Eric with me, and they call him like the Viking because he's like Scandinavian or whatever.
All right.
So then she's like, right, okay. You've told me that you're coming to spend a nice week with me, but you've also told me you've got something very important to tell me when the others aren't around. You've brought a guy with you, and you've shaved your ass. Are you gay? And he's like, no, I'm not gay.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's a red herring. And he's like, but everyone's, shaving nowadays. And this guy I owe him a favor, and he wanted to visit Spain, so I said he could come with me. Like, these are all plausible excuses. And she's like, okay, cool. So she's getting some work with the feathers, and at one point, she does like a big parade, and it's meant to be really good, and she's really excited. And then, of course, some terrible critic gives them like a really bad review and tries to ruin her career. The dad gets high and lets the apartment flood. And then all her feathers for the big show get ruined. And there's a funny bit where they're like, well, we got to get more feathers. Guess we have to break into the zoo. So they go and break into the zoo at night to get all the bird feathers.
Because that's the first thing. Okay.
And, of course, the zookeeper is the guy the mum's having the affair with. So they're able to get the feathers, and then the dad's like, I can't believe he would go to... But then it's really bad, because during the parade, the mum brings her lover with her, and the dad's like, this is not cool,
This sounds like a Seinfeld episode, or some sort of comedy like that.
There's some sweet moments, there's some funny moments and everything, there's some, melodramatic moments. So what is Robert's news? He's like, well, I've been offered a job not just in Paris, but now in China, and not just for 1 year, for 5 years. And she's like, cool. Then what? And he's like, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to break up with you. But I'm also not inviting you.
So
he just
you're breaking up.
He just kind of says nothing. And she's like, you coward, because now I have to break up with you. That's what you're doing.
Mm.
But because she gets the really bad review and she thinks her career is going to be ruined, and she's got this intolerable situation with Aaron and her sister, and of course the sister's trying to make the mum spend like thousands on the wedding dress and everything. She's like, okay, I've made a decision. I'm going to China with Robert. And then he really is a coward because he lets her move, and then immediately when they get there, they breaks up with her.
Yeah.
And because she's like, why are you being like mean to me? He starts kind of being a bit mean, to be fair. And she's like, I came all this way for you. And he's like, I didn't ask you to. And she's like, but that's the problem. You should have, because we're in a relationship. And you just told me you were going to China for 5 years. You didn't ask me to come or break up with me, or really seem to care what happened either way. And he's like, yeah. And I think we're going to break up.
Oh.
But then Lou and Aaron also break up.
Okay.
And
she gets with Aaron.
Then Lou's like, so the Viking has a really big penis. I'm going to go with him for a while.
All right.
And she's...
Random guy. Okay.
Then when they find out about Lou, like that Sarah and Aaron had feelings, Lou was like, why didn't you tell me? I would never have married him. And she's like, well, I thought that he was like the love of your life. But of course, she's so flighty that she's like, no, I moved on to someone else now. You could have just told me, and then I wouldn't have married him. So they're free to get together, and he writes a song for her that's very sweet, and they film the music video, and they use the feathers in the music video, and she gets a big contract out of it and everything, and it all kind of ends very nicely, and the parents, get back together, and it's all very nice. She gets very sick in China, though. There's like a little bit of that, but I just really liked it. Like, I enjoyed it. It's funny at times. I enjoyed the romance. I enjoyed the characters. Some are kind of like, Eric was kind of irrelevant, the Viking guy. He's there, but he loves Spain. And I'm like, I empathize with him. He likes Spain. But
very flaccid name, honestly.
Yeah, he doesn't have a flaccid name like Alex. But I couldn't really understand what costumes she was making with the feathers.
I can only
To be
imagine
hon-
like the
like,
Brazilian
that's all I can picture,
style.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
But she's doing a lot of that apparently, and that's gonna be a business, I guess.
It could be.
I feel bad for the dad because no one seems to care about him, and even the mum is so horrible.
He's just
to him.
irrelevant now, it sounds like.
But the mum is so horrible to him. Like, so when she says to her parents, "I'm gonna go to China with my boyfriend," the mum is like, "You've only lived with your dad for 1 week, and you're already fleeing to China. Think about how I had it living with him for 20 years." And it's like,
Who cares?
it's not that. It's that my boyfriend is moving to China. But the mum is just like, "Oh, the dad is so intolerable. I have not seen him do anything wrong."
Yeah.
And then it's like,
You
well,
were the bad person here.
you're having an affair very openly and wantonly, and everyone's just kind of like, well, if you really love her, you gotta win her back. And it's like, I mean, I guess, but why is no one on his side? Like, I don't get it. I enjoyed this. Lou's kind of funny and kind of erratic, and I enjoy the idea. Like, she doesn't realize that. Sarah doesn't realize that Aaron's such a famous musician, and then the guy, David, the guy she works with, is like, yeah, he's really famous. Like, you just know him as a guy from your high school. And he's like, hold on, you're giving me the gossip that you're in love with your sister's fiance and that it's a famous rock star. And she's like, I didn't know he was famous. And he's like, well, he's not Elton John, but he's as big as Laurie Mayers, which is like a very famous Spanish rock band, you know? So he's that level of like national fame. And like, I obviously it's one of those books that all works out well. But there's some funny moments, and I think
Does it work out for the father?
they get back together with the mum, yeah.
How? Okay.
It just kind of happens at the end. They're just like, yeah, the parents are back together. It doesn't really say what. It's like, oh, cool. So the affair was fine then, I guess. Like,
I guess. I was gonna say, like, maybe he's just a bad person. Does he have a little brother named Igor? Like,
and he has a dog called Sammy Davis Jr.
you had an extra junior just for the fun of it.
So I think this would be great to see in the movie because I'm assuming there's like the nice version when he releases the song at the end, dedicated to this girl he's loved for like 20 years or whatever from his high school, and then she's in the video and they do the feathers and everything, and they don't tell her what the song is about. They say you're not allowed to listen to the song. We want you to use your feathers and help us to choreograph the video. And then only when she sees it at the end, she realizes the song is about how he's always loved her. I think that would look cool in the movie, you know.
We can try it.
But I have to